This is the Creative Download, hosted by Christy Bruno and Chelsea Nettleton, created by creatives to inspire and encourage others to live in the fullness of their creativity. Well, hey everybody, welcome. How are you doing today,
Friday.
Christy?
I'm good.
Happy
I'm
Friday.
excited.
Yeah, and I know we're both pretty worn out. It's been a busy week.
Busy
So we're
work
just
week. Yes.
we're just meeting ourselves where we're at. We're showing up, right?
Yes. Yes. That's so
uh yeah. So we're excited to have y'all back. The last two episodes we were talking about resistance with a capital R, the enemy of the artist. And we're super stoked to jump into ways that we can start to combat that.
yes.
I'm Chelsea Nettleton.
Yes.
What's that?
It's episode 6.
Episode 6. Woo! And thank you guys for everybody that's messaged us and let us know just like the excitement, the encouragement. It's really good to hear because Christy and I joke. We joke about this being more for us than
Yes.
listeners in some ways because we have so much fun with it. So we're just so thankful that it's impacting y'all as well.
Yeah.
So I'm Chelsea Nettleton. I'm a singer-songwriter, scriptwriter, videographer, and photographer, and a budding music producer. And I may be putting my dream of being a kids book illustrator on hold too, but I still play around with it because it's fun, it's satisfying. But I'm not really an artist. I'm not a drawer. So, how about you?
Hard. Yes, I'm Christy Bruno. I'm also a singer-songwriter, script writer. I would say dancer. I know I've been talking about, I still want to be a backup dancer. I just like backups and vocals too. That's always fun to like
That's true.
for a band. However, right now I've talked about this before. Was a little obsessed with the show Killing Eve.
Yeah.
Like the music, like there was just the way that the composer did the music and created a character
Mm-hmm.
with the music kind of to help with it. They're doing a prequel. So
Oh,
there's a
nice.
prequel now to Killing Eve. And now my next dream is I want to be a part of that music. That's,
Yes.
oh, I want it. That's like a show that I would love or something like that, just to be able to create, like help the characters come alive, like with your songs and your music.
That's so cool.
So yeah, it just really
Yeah.
it's a different way of looking at sync and
Yeah.
like how music impacts TV and film. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's so fun.
yeah. I think it's called Honey. It's the
It
the
is the
the
prequel.
show, the prequel is called Honey. Yeah.
Nice.
So I was reading about it last night. Yeah, I'm a little obsessed with the Unloved is the project that did the music for it. So if you want to look
Oh, cool.
Spotify, it's just very interesting and just it's just super cool. So
I
anyway,
love
that's
that.
my new dream.
That's awesome. Well, hey, why don't you take it away and give us a quick recap, just what we've been chatting about the last two episodes
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
for
so
those who haven't heard, haven't listened to those yet.
yeah, talking about resistance and just the things that go on for, in ourselves, whether it's like an external that causes it, internal. And I talked a lot about like how like my education in
Hmm.
you know, creativity being taken out of our education system and how, part of our our podcast that I think our purpose here is to like show the creativity that happens before the end result,
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
the finished product. And so within that is
Yeah.
like
That's a good call.
also, yeah, moving through the resistance,
Hmm.
like getting away from the comparisons.
Yeah.
Mm. And I talked a little bit about like, picking up my guitar, right? And like having resistance to the chords. Okay, so I did. I picked it up.
Yay.
You know what? I try to do it for a short period of time because
Yeah.
my brain will to say, okay, you really need to like have this down by
Right.
it's like, no, I'm just going to pick up my guitar and do a couple of these inversions and put it down and like kind of play,
Yeah.
do a little more play
I
as
love that.
opposed to like work. I just
Yeah.
kind of trick my brain in that way.
Oh, I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and just like working through Well, that's what we kind of talked about is like, and we'll talk about it today too, is like working through some of the resistance that comes up. I heard a great Tom Waits quote, I read it in Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, talking about like when a song wants to be born.
Yes. Oh, yeah,
Sometimes
that'll be
it
fun to talk
comes
about.
in really easy and sometimes it doesn't. And I talked a little bit about our song we're working on.
Hmm.
And this is a tough birth.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I get that. I
Oh,
totally get that.
it so needs to come through. It was such
Yeah.
a weird thing. I had a great experience with this. I have struggled because I talked about this before that what our lyricist, Lori, wrote the lyrics, and her and I have a similar background.
Right.
And so I have experienced a lot of what she's writing about, and
Yeah.
it's not comfortable. And
Right.
so, which I know, okay, well, that doesn't mean you don't do it,
Right.
but I'm having to find my lane in it. And
Hmm.
I went back, I was looking for something else in old notes, old music notes, and I came across the exact same theme that I started writing. I had forgotten about. I blocked it out.
Oh
I
man.
was like, is this not evidence that this song is trying to be born?
Right?
And so, oh, I get goosebumps saying that.
Yeah.
Like, so, pushing through. We're like really pushing through. George, the music's we've been trying to work on the music part of it. He just sent this really interesting track. It's very different. And so now I'm like, now I'm going to go back and try something totally different with my vocals.
Yeah.
And
That'll be fun. See, and you get to play.
I get to play. So
I love that.
that's really important for us. Like we don't
Yeah.
try to force it. Like it's really like there's a kind of a theme that we do, which is let the song come through.
Right. Yep.
And so it was great to see that quote from Tom Waits, who I really love. I like a
Yeah.
lot of his poetry too, and it's like and his lyrics. But it's like, oh, this song wants to be born,
Right.
just just like we are.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes
Wants to be in the world.
yeah, sometimes a birth is super easy, and sometimes the birth is like super messy. This is
Right.
messy. Yeah,
Messy, painful, crazy. Yeah.
it's
Well,
messy.
that's I can't yeah. I'm excited to get into our episode. I mean, I'm always excited to get into our episodes,
Yeah,
but real fast. So let's say I guess I can start this time
yeah,
with what we've been working on, so for me this week I've been working on actually the cover art for the
yeah.
song that my other co-writer Pete Dolan with Circle of Thirds and I are working on. So we're getting close. The song's called Out Alive, and so that's been a really fun experience coming up with cover art for that. I mean, he and I are working on it together, but like I'm kind of leading the brainstorming and the generation of the ideas. So it's interesting to see, speaking of like, an idea or a piece of art wanting to be born, because without actually talking about it, we had very similar ideas on what we wanted the cover art to look like. And so I brought the ideas that I had started working on, and he's like, that's really close to what I was kind of envisioning too. He said, what if we tweak this, and this? So it was really cool to see that. But yeah, so I've been working on the cover art for that. What was the other? There was gosh, I'm like this week. I'm like, is it already the end of the week? I don't even know what's going on this week.
Yeah.
This is why notes are good. Like I made some notes because I didn't want to forget.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Oh yeah, I was working on cover art, and then actually I worked on the instrumentation for our
Yeah.
podcast. So
Yes.
that was really fun. And I'm putting you on the spot here, Christy, but I think you'll like this idea. I was thinking if we created a couple different instrumentals, and maybe we even already talked about this, but created a couple of them and then throw them up on our social media and have people vote on, which one do they like
Good
best.
idea.
That'd be
Yeah.
kind of fun. So we may end up doing that. So we've got one for now. And
Yeah.
actually it was a really fun little piece to write. And it was one of those things where I was like, just sit down and play. And I
Yeah.
think sounds like that's going to be part of what we're talking about today, because I don't think that's exactly what we didn't necessarily incorporate that into, but that seems to be on both of our minds. So I think we're going to listen to that, and
Let it come through.
that'll be a part of that.
Let
Yeah. Because I think that's really important. So
yeah.
what about you? What have you been working on?
Well, I've been working a lot,
Yeah.
so
Oh, for your real estate.
I mean, so, here's and I think this is good to talk about because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us, most of us who are creatives don't I mean, it's a luxury in my opinion to be able to just only live. And that's a dream. I would love to
That's
only
our dream. That's our
be
goal.
in my creative life. And that's how I, support myself financially. 100%. That's what I
Right.
want to do.
Yep.
However, I do really love what I do with real estate too,
Which is
because
great.
yeah, I love my team. I love my clients. I work with a lot of doctors and people who are just very interesting. I'm very much into talking to people, and housing is very emotional.
Yeah.
Buying houses and selling houses is super emotional. I don't care
Yeah.
what
I
anyone
bet.
says.
Right.
It is, and so I like to work. I am not like one and done agent. So my husband and I work with people we've known for a long time or people who we will know. We live in a kind of small town in San Diego. So I've been working a lot, which has been good. And so, but in that, I have to like also keep enough space for creativity, which
Right.
I have been doing pretty successfully. Like,
Mhm.
and what happens is I have to say no to some things. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do everything. So
Right.
I have my priorities are like, my work, my family, and having time for my co-writes and for us to meet. And then I have to schedule out some time to, sing and work on, what
Yeah.
I'm working on. And it's I like to have a little bit more space to think and let things process.
Yeah.
But what I do is I'm in the car, I
Mhm.
listen to a lot of stuff. So,
Yes.
like
Same.
right now, I'm listening to the new music that George has created for our new song.
Nice.
And I'm also listening to the song we just finished and doing because there's the whole cover art now. We're in that phase too.
Right.
So which is, a whole other thing. We've come up with an idea. I have to now get I have to get an outfit.
Yeah.
There's some things I have to get my hair done. Like there's some,
Right.
and then I'll have a photo session and
Nice.
get the artwork done for it because we're gonna.
Love it.
But yeah, so a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
but all good. Nothing has to go. It's like really being. Oh, I'll tell you. This is how it's working the
Yeah.
best with each thing I do when I'm this busy, because this
Yeah.
is the busiest season part of our work life.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Everything I do before I walk in, I sit for a moment and I'm say to myself, what is my intention in this situation?
Hmm.
Like
I
really,
like
what is
that.
my intention?
Yeah. What is my intention?
Why am I here? What is my purpose to do
What
here?
am I supposed to, yeah. What am I
And it
supposed to do?
allows me in that moment to be in that moment, doing what I need to do. And then I go to the next thing, even if it's in my car and I'm going to listen to something. Okay,
Yeah.
what is my intention right now in
Yeah.
listening to this new song?
I love that.
Like okay, I'm just listening to it to get the feel, or
Right.
I'm just, and so I'm really it helps me to like bring in my focus when there's so much stuff going around.
That's a great point. I'm so glad you said that because I think that can help a lot of our listeners too. Like we're all just crazy slam busy. It doesn't matter, what we're trying to do. So how do you kind of calm that craziness and that, when you're trying to figure out, okay, zone in on what you're supposed to be focused on. So yeah, so and you know what, and I need to put that into my life too. Even just take a couple, even if it's just a couple seconds, and just say, what's my intention in this moment?
Good.
I love that. So yeah, so there
Not
we
take a
go. I
lot
mean,
of
that's
time. No, it's like not
yeah,
like it doesn't have to be a big deal. It's
yeah,
just, and if I can remember to do that, like that's
yeah. But I
I,
think the more we, again, the more we do it, the more we'll remember and the more it'll become second nature. Again,
yeah,
that'll create a new groove, where we're,
yeah,
new pathway in our brain. We can do that. I
yeah.
love that. I need to work on that. I'm going to put a little sticky note on my computer when we're
What
done.
is my intention for this?
What's my intention in this moment?
And
And just help focus.
the interesting thing I'll add to that, I'm kind of processing it as I say it,
Yeah.
is that I could tweak on that is because I'm social and I like to be, there's a lot of things I like to do. Like I complain, this is a great complaint. Complain that I have too much stuff I like to do and I don't have enough time in
Same.
my day.
Same.
I want to live a full life and I
Me
do.
too.
And but doing that intention piece, sometimes I might be like, I don't know what the intention is here.
Right.
And if I don't know what the intention is it the right thing for me to do today, right now?
Right.
If it's
Right.
not a work thing, like,
Right. Right.
because sometimes like I have an old habit that I'm breaking, which is taking on responsibility of others that's not mine. And that
Mm-hmm.
is a
I feel
female
you. I feel you.
in our train to do some of that. And so that helps me with that. So if I do the intention and I'm like, is this mine or theirs to
I
take?
love that. Yes.
What is my intention to do this? Like,
That's
because
so good.
if it's not really my responsibility, I don't
Right.
want it in that lane. I,
I'm, oh,
you know.
I feel you so much. I'm learning the same thing. Go ahead. What were you
Well,
saying?
no, I just realized that just now. I'm like, oh, that's a new, like, I just
I
realized
love that.
that's working for me. Yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I love that so much. And I'm learning the same. It's so funny because I'm in a very similar situation because there are so many things that I like to do, creatively and then also, outside of work and creative. Like, I want to get back into swimming. There's an indoor rock climbing gym here that I really want to
Yeah.
make enough money to be able to, maybe get a membership there. And it's like 5 minutes down the road. And I live in a beautiful part of town, part of the state where I can go outside and I mean, my favorite lake just opened up. Like it just they close it down for probably what 4 or 5 months over the winter
Yeah.
for the animals and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of opened, and I'm like, so I've got to figure out my big thing, and now I'm going to be adding the intention piece to it. Now that we've, what you've said, my big thing is learning how to say no, and whether that's like you were just saying, like whether that's to responsibilities that aren't mine that I'm taking on, or just in general, like for example, I mean, I have, my best friend here and her family. I love spending time with them, and a lot of times it's me that I'm like, oh, I really want to go over there, I want to take my dog, and our dogs love to play together. But sometimes I have to catch myself. I'm like, okay, even though it's good, and there are times when I absolutely have to have that and need that, and Zoe, my dog, needs that. I also, there are times when I'm like, oh, I really want to, but I need to say no to myself because I need to sit down. I got to find time for my creativity, because I let too many things get in the way of creating. We have to say no to certain things.
Yeah.
And that's so hard. But I love that piece about how hard that is to say no to, like figuring out, is this my responsibility or not?
Yeah.
Because I struggle with that big
Yeah.
time. I think that's part of being people pleasers, right?
Yes. And like
Recovering people.
recovering people, please. Well, and it's intuitive. Like I'm very intuitive.
Yes,
So,
me
and I
too.
know that about me. I know that about you. That's why I like so much.
Yep.
I get that. I so the other habit in there, and I'll say this, and I just said this to my in a coaching group. I was like, I don't know if I want to say this out loud because then I know I have to really work on it, right?
Oh man,
So
I
I'm
get
going to
that.
say it here too, right? It's like the B chord, right? It's like I don't want to say out loud the B chord that I don't like it because then I'm
Yeah,
going to learn
I
it.
hate the B chord.
Hate the B chord. But what in doing these intentions, like what's my intention? It's really going to mindset, right? It really
Yep.
sets up, it sets me up to see things a little different. So like
Yeah.
because of all of the not being able to say no, part of not being able to say no is because I don't know what I want to say yes to, if that makes sense.
That makes total sense.
So what
Yes.
my default has been is in my head, and it's really becoming clear that I want to change this, is I'll say I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, like, because we learn what we want by learning what we don't want. But I
Yeah.
think I'm to a point where when I set these intentions, it's like when I set the intention, I am actually trying to teach myself how to say, what is it that I want in this?
Gotcha. Yep.
I don't mean like want stuff. I mean
Right.
want like, and like with work, like I'll say like I want to work with clients that are somewhat like-minded.
Mm-hmm.
We have similar values,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to saying I don't want to work with, people who are
Right.
greedy or or whatever.
Right.
So I can't
Focus on the do's.
yes, so
Yeah.
focusing on the want. So it's like
Yeah.
in our house right now, this is like I gave my husband permission, which
Oh boy.
I mean, I did this for a reason because I want to change this habit, but it's still, it's like I have an internal struggle to catch me when I do that. It is so
Oh,
innate.
oh, you gave your husband permission to
I
like
say,
to
oh,
call you out.
call me out. Like, okay, well, what do you want instead?
Oh, that's
And so,
good. I
so
don't think I'm ready for that yet, but but I give you
yes.
props.
So that's kind of going on in my house where I'll like say like, because it's just like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do this because I'm trying to like protect my
Right,
space to do creativity, but
right.
it kind of is a negative mindset. So we're like so he'll be like, oh, so what is it that
Yeah,
you want? And there's this little pause in me. Talk about the resistance, right?
yeah.
That goes, I don't know if I want to say that out loud,
Right.
because, if I say it out loud and it happens, then what?
Of what you want. Oh,
Yes.
I totally get. It's almost like that fear of success, like that fear of what if I actually get what I want? What
Yeah.
am I going to what do I do with that?
It's so good. It's not,
Oh,
and I hate the word want because I think it sounds,
right.
I'm making
Whiny.
yeah, whiny.
Like, I want this.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's not it.
it's not it. It's,
Hmm.
God,
What do you desire? What do
what,
I desire?
yeah, what is it that I really, okay, I'm kind of taking us down the rabbit hole, but
No, I love it. We're just gonna jump. Let's just keep going. Like where that in theory, that was our intro. We're gonna just keep on into the good stuff.
where this came from was I did a exercise with a friend of mine who's like my mentor
Yeah.
on values.
Okay.
And she said to me one day, she said, when you start living your life, oh, I'm getting goosebumps. When you start living your life in your values, your
Mm-hmm.
life will completely change.
Say that again.
If
I think
you
we need to hear that.
start living your life in your values, your life will completely change.
I love that.
And I was like, kind of like stunned, like, okay.
Right.
And I started thinking, well, what are my values? And she's like, let's do the values exercise.
Mm-hmm.
First time through the values exercise, I couldn't identify my own values, which was really surprising.
But you wrote that down.
Yeah, so she gives
That's
you a
awesome.
chart. She gives you a chart of all these different values, and you
Yeah.
gives you like so many minutes to go through and circle your top 10.
Oh, nice.
You read them and it's like very intuitive, like whatever feels right to you, circle, 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 circle.
Yeah.
And I'll ask her permission if I can like put it up because then people
That'd be
can put it
awesome.
up on our
Yeah.
site.
Yeah.
I'm actually talking to her today, so I'll
Oh,
ask
cool.
if
Perfect.
she's okay with me doing that because it's like
Okay.
kind of her thing, right?
Right.
But first time through, I identified all the values I was told to have.
Oh, did you know at the time that they were the
Mhm.
ones you were told to have? Like you knew that you were circling the ones you were told to
And
value?
it was
Or
kind
was it,
of
you
like
think it was subconscious?
subtle. It was a little
Okay.
subtle just because it was like hard to like
Sure.
identify. Like I was kind of wrestling between my head and my heart.
Yeah.
And so then I identified, then she's like, okay, then after those 10, whittle down to the top five.
Yeah.
And then you put them in order.
Okay.
I had to do that 3 times to get
Yeah.
to my values.
Okay.
Because there's our society values, there's like our family values.
Hmm.
And then underneath all that, I could get to mine. So I had to go through that phase.
That's amazing. I love that.
And the top, and they're different. It was kind of painful because they're
Well,
different than
sure.
they're mine.
Right. And that's vulnerable.
And they're not my mom's and dad's, and they're not some of them are, I guess there could be a
Sure.
couple, but and then getting comfortable with that's how I'm going to live my life.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's the want. I see, I
Mm.
had to say all that to tell you what the want is.
Right.
Because it's not me saying I want uh,
Right.
a big house on the hill, whatever, which I don't.
Right.
Like,
Right.
but I want to live in my values.
Hmm.
But you have to know what those are.
I wonder if we can even take it a step further and say, I need to live in my
Well, it
values.
is a need. It
Because it
is.
is a need. Yeah. Like, and that maybe that's, I desire and need to live in my values. Like maybe that's how we reword that,
Hmm. It's
because
funny.
of the way that want is perceived sometimes,
It's
you
all.
know.
This is kind of just so y'all know. This is connecting for me right now in this. Like,
Yeah, this is so cool. You guys we get
oh,
to
that's where
experience
I'm
this
getting this.
together.
Yeah. So the intention that I'm doing is uh the underlying, like, I don't necessarily say it's not so cognitive to
Mhm.
say, oh, what are my five values? I'm going to live in my five values. It is
Right.
now like I have identified what my values are.
Yeah.
I know this is like really identifying who you are.
Yeah.
And then when something comes to me that's not in that, my first response is to say, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I get really, so instead of doing that, I can like take a pause and be like, oh no, this is what I need to do,
Yeah.
as
That's
opposed to this.
fantastic. Well, and that, gosh, that I just realized I'm like, that works so well into what we want to talk about today,
Yeah.
too. Basically, we've already kind of jumped into it without almost without even realizing it. I love this. Is
Yeah, we did not plan this. This is
Yeah, no, but like to
this all
create,
just came just right at this moment.
yeah, this first part. But this does go so beautifully into what we wanted to talk about today, both with resistance in general and also just what, a couple other things to, as an artist is you have to know, or not, no, I'm sorry. Let me take that back because you don't have to know. That is a overstatement, and that's not what we want. But what we wanted to talk about with this episode is a big part of being able to be an artist and create is to start knowing yourself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that's why I say, like, so I retract, you have to know. Totally call BS on that right now to myself, because there's no way that we'll ever fully know ourselves. We are always changing and growing. But to be an artist, you have to have that want, that desire to learn yourself, to know yourself, right? And so that like goes so beautifully with what we're
Yes.
talking about today.
And I think that voice, that of who we are, our true self, our
Mm-hmm.
real true self. We talked about that in the last, like, I think I was talking about how I
Yeah.
think we all come here as these creative feeling beings. That's our true self. And then
Mm-hmm.
as we go through life, we have these experiences that maybe we hide that person, or
Right.
we're not, it's not encouraged out in school or whatever. And then
Mm-hmm.
if you're an artist, you're really creative, that voice can get loud.
Yes.
Like, like there's a song by Gary Jules. I don't know if you know who Gary Jules
I
is, but
don't.
I
Uh-uh.
don't even know if I interpret this part of his line as like monkeys in a cage, like shaking the cage.
Yeah.
He's got a line, Falling Awake, I think is the name of the song.
Ooh,
It's such a beautiful song. Gary
that's a
Jules
cool
did,
line.
he's a friend of ours. He did Mad World for Donnie Darko. He's the song, that song is very famous.
I love that song.
A great songwriter. So it's Tears for Fears song, and then
Excuse me.
Mike Andrews, who's a composer, a film composer, and he's also a fantastic musician, plays in the Gray Boy All Stars, and they got together and they did the cover. They did that cover. Um,
Amazing.
Mike Andrews was the music composer for Donnie Darko. So
Ooh,
that kind of put Gary on the map, and
nice.
anyways, he is himself a fantastic songwriter. He's got a song called Falling Awake, and there's a line in it that talks. That's why I'm using his song right now. Gary, you're going to listen to this, but and it's the monkeys in the cage of my heart rattling the cage. It's like and I'm paraphrasing the line, but that
Sure.
to me is our inner self
Yes.
saying, "Let me out."
Right. Let me out. Let
Yeah,
me be a crazy monkey. Let me do my thing. Let me, whatever that may look like. Like, let me out.
that's my
Uh,
interpretation, Gary. He might have a whole other, like, might mean something else, but that line in his song came to me right now while we're doing that. So
yeah. Well, and I think we talked about that last episode or, episode 4 or 5 where, or maybe you and I were chatting about that this week where art is interpreted, like once you let it go. I
yeah,
think that was for
we'll
today,
talk about it
actually.
today.
Oh
Yeah,
my
we'll
gosh.
talk
See,
about it today. Yeah.
I love this. Okay. I promise you guys, we're not patting ourselves on the back by any means. Like, that's not what we're excited about. It's like, we're excited because we have goosebumps for how all of this stuff comes together. Because I'm just going to take a quick moment and say, like, I was really not anxious, but I was nervous about our recording today because I was like, I was so tired this morning, and the week has been busy. It's been not a bad week, just busy. I know Christy's been busy, so I think there was that part of me that I was like, oh gosh, what if we don't have anything to share today? Like, what
I
if we don't have the energy or and that's why I said at the beginning, we're here, we showed up,
yeah.
and it's coming together. Like, I just love it.
I think
So,
that's why we do this, Chelsea, because we
yes.
do this anyway. So like I was telling
Yeah,
somebody
we would do this no matter what.
we would be doing this no matter what. On
We're
Fridays,
just
we were
recording it.
meeting on Fridays. We were talking about our creativity. And
Hmm.
yes, we decided to record it and to share
Oh,
ideas. And that's what we do. And I do this with other creative people too. I've had
oh yeah.
my writing team with George and Lori, we do a lot of this and we
Hmm.
really get to know each other. I had a great coffee with a friend artist, Christopher Hoffey, who's here that
Nice.
we just like can get into like talking about our creative life and how a
Yes.
little bit how to survive in it and how to like, so it's just it's what I
Can I
it's
can I just share just a beautiful moment that I got to experience with, like, so I talk about my best friend a lot and her family, and her husband is a very close friend too. Like, they're both my best friends, but like Elle is like my bestest friend in the whole world. And is bestest, is that a word? I'm
just
totally
this
blanking.
we
Is
can
bestest my very bestest.
yeah
And it's cool because we are all creatives, but we don't necessarily, like, that's not necessarily how we all became friends. We just figured out that once we started hanging out, and my husband's included in that, like, we are all creatives.
yeah
And so it just worked out that we became, really good friends. And then the beautiful part was that the artistic side of things just naturally kind of started coming together. So Danny and I, the her husband, so Elle is my best friend and Danny is her husband. He plays guitar, and he's a wonderful guitarist, so I much prefer when he plays guitar and I can just sing and just focus on
but
singing.
yeah that's the best part yeah
And so he and I, we started doing that. And then Elle and I both, she has a master's in film as well, just like I have mine in screenwriting. Hers is in kind of media, or I mean in film. I think it's in film production, like kind of as a whole.
oh,
Mine's in script writing. My husband has a master. My husband's I have
just one
just one husband. He's got his master's in producing. Danny went to, I think his bachelor's was in music. And so now we're getting to kind of put all that together because we're starting to know each other so well. So
yeah
this is the beautiful moment. Sorry for that long little bit of description, but this is the beautiful moment I wanted to share. Was I went over there last night just to bring Zoe. They're 5 minutes down the road. I wanted to bring Zoe over there to play,
yeah
because I was gone most of the day on, thankfully on work stuff, which is good. Um, and I missed my best friend. I was like, haven't seen her for a couple days, and I just wanted to just relax and hang out with them. And I thought I'd be over there maybe for half an hour so the dogs could play, and then I'd probably go home and, get ready for bed and all that stuff. But we ended up, it was the first night that it was warm enough really to sit outside. So it's
yeah
like starting to get to that. They took the covers off the patio furniture, got the fire pit set up, and we sat around, and Danny grabbed his guitar, and all of a sudden their three kids, like, they kind of gravitate whenever I come over. We all kind of gravitate, and I have this family that I never really like got to experience in that way.
yeah
And Danny grabs his guitar, and suddenly we're all singing, just random cover songs. And it was just a beautiful time. It was so peaceful. But like, so that artistic mind, we just came together. We didn't plan anything beforehand. We just sat, and Danny and I have played enough together that I could follow along with him. And Elle and the kiddos, they sing. It's just, it was
fun
so special. And it was one of those moments where I kind of got to play, going back to that. But
yeah
it was just beautiful. It was just a beautiful moment. And I just think that's so cool how those moments can come together, when we're open to that. That was not a planned thing.
that to me is what the real creative life is about like
Yeah.
explained and I think in a
Yeah.
lot of other cultures and a lot of other areas when you have a lot more like everyone plays music everyone learns an instrument everyone you know what I mean everyone
Yeah.
That's like, I remember these guys in college that were from Liechtenstein. I don't even know.
Liechtenstein. I love saying that.
They were at ASU and they wanted to hang out with me and my friends, and they'd always come over with a guitar and a bunch of songs and we'd sing, and it was very much their culture. Same with some French guys that I hung out with. When I went to Austin, Texas, it was like that. Like there were certain areas, like I love that you guys do that. To me, that's what
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
learning to play guitar is really about. That's what like
Right.
really being comfortable singing is really about, is that you can sit down and you can just play and no one's having to critique and no one's, you're just
Brings
enjoying.
people together.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
to whatever capacity you want that to be, again, whether it's music or, painting or drawing, like, and that's what's neat too, is the kiddos, like one of the kiddos is, and I'm just keeping their names out just for,
yeah.
I guess just since they're minors, but one of the kiddos, she's a phenomenal artist, physical, drawer, but she also can sing. And it's just neat because then as we're singing and playing, she's kind of picturing something. She's got her little sketchbook, and she's kind of just, and I'm just like, oh, this is just so gratifying. I apologize because I honestly, I can't remember like completely why that it just hit me that beautiful moment of art coming together and being a place of healing, being a place of just peace and relax. And we were all so comfortable with each other and ourselves, again, kind of really getting to know ourselves, that we met. I couldn't remember the words to some of the songs, and I didn't care. you know couldn't remember the melody to some of the songs, and it was just, but it was beautiful.
It was a safe
It
space.
was a safe space. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So talking about that, going into kind of what, some of the things we wanted to talk about today, learning about ourselves. Uh in the book of the War of Art, like there's some really cool stuff in there about like kind of going back to resistance
Yeah.
itself. I know we listed off what resistance is, like that whole list that I gave y'all. The neat part is I finished part 2 of his book, and it talks about kind of how to combat resistance, right? So we talked about what resistance is, now figuring out, okay, how do we fight this? And you and I were talking earlier today, like I took many notes because it just was like, oh, this is amazing. So we'll kind of go back and forth between that, I'm sure, and kind of some of the other stuff we wanted to talk about, like with our, learning ourselves and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Well,
But
kick
yeah,
us off because yeah, first we were
sure.
talking about like just recognize, you don't even have to say, oh, I'm in resistance, but you can tell
Right.
you're like something's coming in, you're kind of feeling blocked off, right?
Yep.
So now
Yep.
we're going to do like, okay, so what do you do? What
Right.
are some of these things that help you through it? So you don't put it down and walk away for long periods of time. I
Yes.
think that's really for me why I'm, as for me, sometimes I'll just be like, I don't want to, I just won't do it. And all of a sudden
Right.
days and weeks goes by and I haven't done anything creative. That's
Right.
completely why I collaborate now. And that's why we do this podcast. And that's because
Hmm.
this week would have been a perfect example of just getting too busy.
Right. That you easily could have said, I don't have time
I
for.
don't have time for this, right?
Right.
But I have made some connections with people now that I show up for
Yeah.
and for myself. Oh, and I did a listening session this week with the
Oh,
Sync Tank,
nice.
which we do that twice a month. And
Nice.
so I'm like, I show up. I
Hmm.
have somebody else and other things to show up for. So
Yep.
that is to me, that's part of helping with the resistance because
Yeah.
I don't, if I'm isolated and all by myself, it's so much easier to let that resistance kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
take over.
Hmm.
But yeah, you really sparked my interest though when we were talking before we started on
Hmm.
this, just what you read. So
Yeah.
let's get into what your notes are because I want to know.
Yeah. Inquiring minds want to
I have
know.
not heard this yet.
Yeah, this was really, really cool. So I will preface it with saying he talks about in part 2 of his book, again, Steven Pressfield, in The War of Art, which I know that's one of the books you're reading as well. Um, the part 2, he talks about the amateur versus the pro. And I will preface all of this by saying when he talks about a pro versus an amateur, in whatever I mean, again, he's a writer, so he kind of focuses on writing, but he means art in general.
Mhm.
When he says pro versus amateur, he's not necessarily talking about financially, you're a professional if you're getting paid and you're an amateur if you're not. That's not what he's talking about.
Okay.
The professional mindset, or the professional is a mindset versus an amateur mindset.
Gotcha.
And that's what part two talks about. And I have copious notes, which I have a feeling we will, again, this will probably be a couple parter, because I just think these are so beautiful and helpful. So I guess I'll just kind of start with the first one, and we'll not try, we will get these listed on our social. So keep an eye out for that. We'll kind of post these, maybe throughout the month, so that you guys can take them in chunks.
Yeah.
um let's see, so combating resistance, so he sets it up, and for anybody that has the book or is going to get the book, this is on page 62. He sets it up that, so amateur versus pro, amateur mindset versus a professional mindset. The amateur plays for fun, the professional plays for keeps, and we'll go into these more in detail, but the amateur, for them it's an avocation, for the professional it's a vocation. For the amateur, they play part-time. For a professional, they play full-time. An amateur is a weekend warrior. A professional is 7 days a week. The amateur doesn't quite love the game enough. The professional commits to it full-time. Now, again, that doesn't mean, for those of you out there that have full-time jobs, just like Christy and I do, don't be discouraged. He's not saying, in my interpretation of this and what I've read, he's not saying, so when he says, doesn't love the game enough, the professional commits to it full time, he's not saying that you commit to a full-time artistic career. He's saying with your mindset, it's who you are. It's who you are full time. If you love your art and you want to do it, to whatever capacity, have that professional mindset of this is who I am. This isn't a part-time gig for me.
I like
Um
how you put that. Yeah, because, in our culture, so to take it literally would mean, let me just use this as an example. I have doctor clients who are like heads of departments and
mhm.
fantastic musicians,
Mhm.
right?
There you go.
All of them.
Hmm.
It's just like me. Like it's kind of like we were talking earlier about like really getting clear on who you are,
Yeah.
because um you being an amateur in any kind of thing creative might be exactly what you want to do,
Hmm.
because you want that in your life, but your like real passion and real love is being a doctor.
Right.
Oh, one of my other clients, okay, I love this. She is a Broadway actress.
Oh,
She went, first did that theater major, went to Broadway, performed on Broadway in New York, was not making very much money, but loves it, but
yeah.
decided to go to medical school because she loves that too.
Wow.
Went to medical school,
That's
and is a
amazing.
general practitioner here in San Diego, and she performs here in San Diego and is often the lead.
And she's a doc, like, wow.
So I think that came to me in the sense that it doesn't have to be so black and white. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to, it's like you said, when it can be how you think of yourself, right? So like
Right. It's the
it's
mindset.
how much do you think about it? How much do you like? I know for Heidi, Dr. Heidi, I won't say her last name just in case because she doesn't know I'm talking about her on this.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't care, but she I know that she does the both, like has both of those going on in her life,
Mhm.
because on a daily basis, how do you be the
Mhm.
lead in a play if you're not, right?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not just like, hey, I'm going to take an acting class sometimes.
Yeah.
Is okay too.
Right. Right. Yeah. And again, that's whatever level.
because it's part, I think it kind of goes back to the idea of the values in a sense. Like if you put
Yes.
that together with this,
Yes, that's so
like
good.
really find out like who are you? So in my values, in my top five values, the top one is my well-being. That's my number one is
Yes.
well-being is my top priority.
Yes.
Creativity is number two.
Yes.
So like, I have creativity going on in my life
hmm
all the time,
hmm
every day, 7 days a week.
Yep. Yep.
Some,
Even if you're just thinking about it,
yeah,
like even if it's just pondering, right? Like again, I think that's what he's talking about with that professional mindset. Like, and again, it's not that you're forcing it, it's not that you're, oh, well, if I call myself an artist, I have to do this. No, 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 no. We're taking away the have tos, the
yeah,
supposed tos, whatever. If this is who you are and who you want to be, shifting the way that you see things. Because again, like going back to kind of what you said when you were looking at your values, you had to really fight through what your values actually were versus what you were told or taught that they
yeah.
were.
And that was a surprise to me because
That's so cool.
I have been doing a lot of work on myself in my
Yeah, a
adult.
lot of soul
Like, it's
searching, if you will.
not like a first round, like first
Yeah.
something like this. I was actually quite surprised that, oh, the first round was like there were a lot of social values. So like
hmm
depending on what culture you're from too,
Yes, so
what kind
true.
of a family structure you're from, like,
hmm
and where you live, like, and we are social beings. And so we
hmm
tend to, I think, fall into those to fit in,
Yep. Oh, so true.
right?
Yeah,
That's
because we want to belong. That's part of our
it's how
DNA.
we're wired.
it's
Yeah.
it, it's
Yeah.
a self-preservation
Yeah.
to want to be a part, to be
Yes.
included, to be,
But
you
the
know,
cool thing is that and I'm realizing this now as I've done this, because it's kind of scary to like live that way because there's that doubt, which is part of the resistance. There's the fear, oh, but it won't happen for me
right?
because I'm leaving a
It
social.
can't. Yeah, it can't for whatever reason.
So if this is not okay, so for example, if this is not good for my well-being, I don't
Mhm.
care how much money it is. I'm
Right.
not going to do it
Right.
because the suffering is not worth it.
Yep.
So, but to do that, to
hmm
like make that
Yes.
takes this leap of um trust
hmm
that I will find what will work.
Yeah. God, my brain is going like a million miles. I'm so with you on that because I think of a job that I had to leave because it paid really well. And it allowed us to move from the East Coast back here to where I consider home, even though I didn't actually get to grow up here, but I was born here and I used to get to visit. Been trying to get back here ever since I was a kid. So allowed us to move home, but it was so toxic for me. And it wasn't like somebody looking in from the outside might go, I don't understand. Like, why is this a problem? Like, but for me, it sucked the soul out of my life. And it for whatever reason. I mean, for some obvious reasons, but also some other things that I couldn't quite nail down. And I had to leave it because I wasn't doing anything creative. I was dead exhausted and I was remote. I wasn't even, it's not like it was a physical job, but it was so emotionally draining and artistically draining that I didn't have my values in place. I wasn't able to be what I now know, what I'm learning, my artistic self, my well-being, things like that. But most people would look at that going, why are you leaving the job? Like,
Yeah,
that's foolish. That's stupid,
I'm
and
not taught that. We're actually
yeah.
taught to do what you were doing.
And it has not been easy
Yeah.
since then. Like, it's not like it was like, oh, I quit so that I could do, my art full time. I don't get to do my art full time, like financially. Like, I don't get it. It's not it doesn't support me. And it may or may not ever, I'm not sure yet what it's supposed to be. But that it's been really hard. Like, and then my husband ended up with some back issues, and so he couldn't work for a while, and I mean, we suddenly found ourselves with very little income, you know?
Well, there's a whole, I mean, I have a belief on this. It's not my theory, not my, but I agree with that. When we're
Yeah.
not in alignment with who we are,
Yep.
we start to physically, our bodies respond.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, people get sick
Mm-hmm.
and they are so far out of alignment with who they are and their values. Like, I
Yep.
100% believe that. And
I do too. I've
we,
experienced it.
yes. And I think we also, when we look at people that we like, say, like, we might see somebody famous or somebody that's super successful in their whatever they're doing and what we want, we could look at that and go, I want that.
Right.
Well, they might be living in their values.
Right. Right.
Might not be your values. So instead of trying to be them, which was
Mm-hmm.
I have to be, I watch this with music a lot. Like
Yeah, same.
I can't sing. I'm not going to sing like other people.
Right.
I have to be who I am,
Mm-hmm.
sing how I am, and
Mm-hmm.
not try to be like what other people are. Right.
Right. So, as we guessed, this ended up being longer than what we like to have for an episode. So, we have split this one into 2 parts as well. Stay tuned for episode 7, where we will jump into part 2 on mindset. Thanks for listening to The Creative Download, hosted and produced by Christy Bruneau and Chelsea Nettleton, edited by Chelsea Nettleton.